Hey everyone, Evan and Irma here from Avira Health today with Dr. Rafael Grossmann, an amazing friend of Avira Health and surgeon, innovator, physician entrepreneur, XR magician. Rafael, how are you?
I'm good, my friend. Thank you very much for letting me be here and the invitation. And it's good to see you and Irma there.
So good, Rafael.
So good to see you, and we appreciate you and even from the hospital taking a few minutes out to chat with us. Maybe we can share your website. Actually, an amazing site and video for the folks that get a context of who you are and the amazing work you do. Let's take a look.
What defines possibility? A bright light in an endless space. For more than 3 decades, my job has been centered around certainty. The certainty of hope, of saving or improving the lives of those who trust me through surgery. Once you chase the ability to strive for certainty, the mind becomes restless. And that is the seed of possibility. Welcome to the world of extended reality. Through XR, we can understand the glory of our past, the pulse of our present, and the potential of our future. However, there's a greater possibility that XR presents. It can give us the ability to revolutionize the fabric of humanity, medicine, and education through technology. You can harness the potential and efficiency of your practice by enhancing your world through augmented reality. You can become a better learner through virtual reality by opening the doors to innovative simulations and resources, or interact with a hybrid world through mixed reality where the possibilities are endless. There's never been a better day than today to change our world for the better. My goal is to bridge the gaps in healthcare and education by instilling humanity and technology into the lives I touch. Join me in building a new world of possibility and certainty through passion, vision, and collaboration.
Wow, that was something.
That was very intriguing. You definitely piqued our interest, and it seems like possibilities are endless. But I want to go back to maybe the beginning and ask you about your immigrant experience. I'm curious about your journey from Caracas, Venezuela, to becoming a practicing surgeon here in the US, and how's your immigrant background and experience influenced your whole perspective on healthcare?
Yes, absolutely, Irma. That's the core of everything. I think I am from Venezuela, from Caracas, and that's where I grew up. That's where my family is, and I'm sixth generation of Germans in Venezuela. German, Spanish, it's all a mix. But in 1800s is my first relative on my father's side got there. My mother's is probably even before that. And I went to med school in Venezuela. My whole life in Venezuela, then med school. After med school, I worked for a year as a rural physician, which is what you do in most countries, actually, and also in Venezuela, because education is mostly free. So you go to med school for free, and then you have to pay your social debt by being a general provider, a general practitioner for a year in a rural or underserved area. So I did that. In the meantime, I was learning English and studying for my boards, in my USMLE boards. And then the second year, I kept working in an emergency room. And also I was assisting in surgeries. Here the system is a little bit different. My father is a surgeon, so I was helping him. And in fact, I was helping him since the very first days of med school as an assistant. And surgery was really, really my passion. Out of 8 kids, I was the only one in medicine. And so after the second year, I ended up finding a position in Chicago, at the University of Chicago, doing research for a couple months initially, and then they extended it for a year. year. That was an unpaid position, as most IMGs or international medical graduates who come to this country to seek further training do. Trying to be the first to arrive and the last to leave the place, to impress, to be not as good as, but try to be better than the status quo, so that then you can be seen and you have a chance to make it. And my goal was to train in surgery. And after that year in Chicago, I went to Ann Arbor, Michigan to do my surgery training. And I did for 7 years, and then went back home, which was the goal. But unfortunately, home was, not ideal. The country had changed a lot of political and social, economic, moral, even issues. So I decided to come back, and I settled in Maine for almost 18 years, up until a couple of years ago when I started migrating south to Portsmouth, New Hampshire now, and a full-time clinician, full-time general and trauma surgeon. I do mostly trauma and acute care surgery, but the goal is to go back to what I was doing in Maine and what I helped set in Maine, which was a trauma program that also does a part elective surgery. So I do a minimally invasive and laparoscopic robotic surgery as well, and that's what we want to do here. And I'm here helping create that program in a great community close to Boston, where you guys live, and to New England, and at the same time juggling being an advocate, a technophile, trying to innovate and trying to use technology in a smart way to improve what we do, how we teach, how we learn, how we really envision the healthcare that we would want for us and our families.
Oh, what a wonderful journey. And on that note of physician innovator, tell us about your first experience as the first surgeon, I believe, to use Google Glass during a live surgery. I mean, that was really early in this whole world of mixed reality, extended reality. What was it like?
Yeah, it's a lot of times I get asked that question. I've always liked technology. I've always been driven to connect and communicate better using technology. I've done a few TED Talks, and one of my first TED Talk was about using an iPod Touch device in rural Maine to connect and do consults, emergency trauma consults at a distance using telemedicine. This is back in 2010, 11, an iPod Touch device. So that landed me doing TEDx talk, and then I started thinking more about becoming a communicator, about the power of technology to improve what we do, and then that drove me to Silicon Valley area. Dan Kraft, which is a common friend, he had the embryo of exponential medicine, which is now Next Med Health, and it was in a big conference. It was a small conference, not even a conference. It was like a training session, of 7-8 days. And one of the incredible things I saw there at that Future Med event, or a Future Med training, was Babak Parviz, the inventor of Google Glass. And when I saw what Google Glass could do, basically accessing the all human knowledge, the internet from a frame in your head, connected to the web, able to stream and take pictures or videos. I thought, wow, we gotta use this to communicate and connect better. So I got a device very early, and I just had to use it in surgery, really without thinking too much, just as it came out of the box, to improve the experience that my students had. Rather than watching what I was doing, they were just sitting, sipping a little coffee in a conference room, and they were basically having my perspective of an operation. And I wrote a little post on that, and my good friend John Nosta put it in Forbes, and within hours it became viral. And next day I was getting calls from Argentina and Italy and everywhere. Glass was very sexy back then, and so I thought this is a great way to use technology in a different way, probably a better way than a non or as meaningful way, in order to improve what we do. And but the video that you saw at the beginning has some shots that I haven't. That's not very public because of HIPAA reasoning and my hospital's regulations back the other hospital where I was. But it really drove, I think, my entrance, I think, a little bit into into being a sort of an influencer, I guess, of sorts, or opinion leader of how technology used differently can improve. And I always call Google Glass as the Model T of AR in a way. It's not augmented reality per se, but it's a way to use a head-mounted display. And now we are all the way to devices like the View 6, which is regular set of glasses, but with all the power of XR within them. So we've gone far, evolving very quickly. I call it an R evolution. This is a revolution, really. It's a very few years we've gone from nothing to everything. And now imagine, Vision Pro is coming out, and many other devices out there that are unbelievable, magical almost, and many of them now with the power of generative AI. The world is becoming really what we have dreamed of, and we have to use all that power with a lot of responsibility, I think, to improve what we do.
Yeah, so tell us more. What is your vision for how all this technology and augmented reality and virtual reality can change the landscape of medical education in particular?
Well, I think the possibilities are only limited by how clever our imagination is. Really, we have seen it in the last few years for sure, and there is a lot of not talk about potential anymore, but validation with multiple studies, for example, in VR, not just for education only, but for diagnostics and even treatment in VR, but extends to XR, right? VR, AR, mixed reality called XR, so extends to XR. I think that education, nowadays, if you're not using XR for education, you're not in the 21st century, I think. There's no way. It's like not using computers for education. It's not like not using smartphones to communicate. I think that it's not a substitute to traditional means of work, in this case of educating, of learning or teaching, but it's certainly another tool to bring the experience a notch up, and in some circumstances substitute what we traditionally did. And the pandemic really showed us that we've been preaching for years, the power of remote connectivity, the power of telemedicine or tele-education. It became a necessity, right? So necessity being the mother of invention, I guess. And you see a lot of platforms out there for educating people, bringing them an immersive computer-generated environments from healthcare, from medical schools to tech and nursing schools. Everyone should be using, and some are using, virtual reality, for example, to educate and improve. It is more efficient, it's more comfortable, it decreases cost, increases engagement, retention. There are many validated facts in those statements.
Wonderful. So as a practitioner, you've seen firsthand the barriers, though, to widespread adoption of these technologies in healthcare, given our system today. What are they, and how are you managing to overcome those barriers?
Well, I think that as we evolve, right, as the technology evolves and our mind evolves and our regulation evolves, all those tend to minimize, and we find other areas of difficulty or other hurdles. Initially, we talked about HIPAA and privacy laws, and that is now really not an issue anymore, because anyone knows that any system that is going to be used in healthcare, and if you're going to deal with private health information, PHI, you must have a secure server, A to B, and all of that is intuitive. You can't even get into the market or mention getting into market without having a HIPAA compliant system, right? So that is really not a barrier, but for years was a big barrier and stopped many incredible innovations. Like where I was in the other system where I was, the concern of HIPAA prevented them from being the first hospital in the world to announce a Google Glass surgery or to do surgery with or to do outpatient visits with Google Glass because of the lack of vision, but also because of the HIPAA, hurdle. I think that nowadays the biggest hurdle is probably related to regulation and to education. So regulation and education. If education, because this that you are doing, both of you, right, preaching and helping us preach and advocate and talk about this so people know. And I think that when the players know what's available, they question, why are we doing it this other way, which is not as good as efficient, when we can do it this way? If I'm a patient and I see, hey, I saw this guy doing this outpatient visit with a glass, and he was not looking at the computer when he was talking to me. He was actually looking at my eyes and interacting, empathetic connection with me. So why are you guys not using that? So as we educate, I think those barriers tend to disappear. But that's probably the biggest barrier right now. And I think that in the recent past, I think even regulation has become less of a hurdle, because now we have leaders in those areas, at least in the US and many places in Europe and other parts of the world, but especially in the US. I think the FDA, for example, which was in a way, the gatekeeper for all this incredible magical innovation, the FDA has become for many years now, even before the pandemic, more open-minded and more up to the times. And you see how things get into market faster, still safer, but faster in the market and less expensive. So you have incredible solutions out there that are not, relying on luck or money to get in, but the gatekeepers now are really becoming more up to the times, and that's still a barrier, I think. And if you think about things like generative AI, for example, ChatGPT like systems, that's a big barrier still, and a scary one, because we have to make sure that we regulate technology. But I think that all those barriers evolve as the technology evolves, and I think that more and more things are going to be more natural and intuitive, and things that we saw as barriers and hurdles and impossibilities are going to become the past.
This is a great segue to my next question. You've mentioned the paradoxical power of technology to coexist with better, more humane medical care. Please elaborate on how do you see this? How do you see technology enhancing the human aspect of healthcare, which is, of course, I know all physicians want to get back to spending more time with patients and showing the empathy that got them to be in the profession in the first place.
That is sort of I want to say my mantra almost, I think, because, it's so frustrating to see how we have for the last 20, 25, 30 years gotten a hold of incredible, almost magical technology, right, to communicate and connect better. And you figure, well, that's important because, obviously digital health, right, and electronic medical records, electronic health records, EHRs, EMRs, they're going to be an incredible solution to improve medicine. But then what happened is that we started, looking away from the patient. And yes, we have more data, we have better documentation maybe, but we have lost the patient provider, patient physician a relationship that we had in the past. So I think that a way to rescue that, to resuscitate that, is to bring technology to humanize us and to in a way take away those tasks that we don't need to focus on, and then focus on the tasks that we can really, as humans, really do: connect, empathize, be compassionate, cry, laugh, hug, touch our patients. Right now, we can do that if we apply the technology in a better way, because you can have an ambient intelligence clinical system that is watching everything and documenting for you, or you can have a camera, in your glasses, and there is a AI scribe or a human scribe, like for Augmetics, the company that does outpatient human scribes, documenting for you, and you are talking to your patient and looking at them on the eyes rather than back on the. And still, unfortunately, most of the healthcare is done that way, with big computers where you document and you spend 80% of the time on that computer, and then 5% of the time with your human in front of you. And that's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, cause of burnout. And we talk about burnout in healthcare. It is because of that. We want to help patients. We want to work with humans. We don't want to work with keyboards. And that's what we unfortunately still do.
Yeah, well, that's what advice would you give to healthcare professionals who are hesitant or maybe reluctant or too busy to integrate all of these leading edge technologies into their practice, which you've done so magnificently?
Well, I think that the first thing is that I think to seek, to learn, to be curious, to engage and network in whatever social media channel or whatever network you are in, physically or virtually. Learn about what's out there that can help you be a better medical provider. I say provider because this is from techs to subspecialty physicians, nurses, PAs, techs, everyone, has sort of the same role to be a human helping other humans. And you got to seek out what's out there. Look at people like you two who are communicators and bring content that is validated, that it's important, that it's going to improve healthcare. Attend events, conferences. There's vast amount of knowledge everywhere. It's just a matter of start tasting it, because you got to do that. Because if you want to be a healthcare of the future, the near future, not the future in 20 years, the future like in 3 years, I think that you need to engage. You probably heard the question or asked that question, or do you think that computers are going to replace doctors or nurses? And the answer very commonly now is yes, but not really all doctors or nurses. The only ones that are going to be replaced are the ones that don't engage with these technologies. So why would you go to a doctor that still does X-rays on an acetate plate? You know what I mean? Or a doctor that when operating on your gallbladder to remove it makes a big incision rather than 4 little incisions. It's the same. Why would you go? So the only ones that are going to be replaced are the ones that don't engage with technologies in a smart fashion. The only ones that don't do maybe generative AI to do their registration or the post-op instructions. So those are the ones that are going to go. So human providers are going to evolve to embrace technology, and you have to do that, because if you don't, you're going to be out.
So let's go a little bit further into the future. As a healthcare futurist, we're curious to know what you see as some trends and technologies that will have a significant impact on healthcare in 5 or 10 years. And what about these brand new technologies coming to market, like the Apple's new virtual reality headset?
Yeah, that's a pretty big question, right? I think that 5 years, there's no question in my mind that most education and diagnostics and even therapeutics in 5 years for sure, especially in procedural fields like surgery, any type of surgery, is going to be very much based on some type of extended reality and haptic type platform with a very, very high content of some type of generative or large language model AI. There's no question. It's happening already now. The system has gone from, I recently tweeted a little post, a little tweet about a tweet and a thread as well, because we got to go both sides now. So if AI is a monkey, generative AI is a bright, smart human. And I think that's really, we have leaped into really the future of what AI can do, and the potential of AI. And I think that there's no question that in the very near future, within 3 years, we're going to have all of that used in healthcare quite a bit, from education to diagnostics to therapeutics. And you mentioned the Vision Pro. I'm in talks to with Apple to really help in a way drive how that is integrated into healthcare, like it will be integrated in many others human endeavors. The fact that the Vision Pro is out there, literally very soon for developers, and next year for the rest of the consumers, it's very exciting, because yes, the device apparently is much better in many ways than other devices. And otherwise, you have the Meta Pro, you have the Magic Leap 2, you have the HoloLens 2, you have the View 6 set of glasses, you have the Vario, you have the Pico. There are many others.
Them all, yes.
The A3 from Lenovo, all of them are phenomenal, right? Some have their own little idiosyncrasy, better or not. But when it's Apple, everyone is wanna get that, no matter what. So it's like when you have an iPhone 14 and the 15 comes out, you know, you almost, this is not working that way, I'm gonna get the 15. So there is an excuse, and I think the social power, I think, that Apple brand or Apple devices and the trustability of Apple, for electronics and for use case, I think that is going to drive the industry to heights that we have been dreaming of in the last 5 to 10 years. So I think that virtual reality, augmented and mixed reality are going to have a very, very solid presence, a almost standard of care. The status quo is going to be to use these tools not as substitution 100%, but as another tool, a complement to everything we do in the digital world. It's a bridge between humans and technology, or humans and digital. So it's going to be very exciting very soon, 3 to 5 years most, I think.
Well, very exciting indeed. And if folks are watching this, either individuals, maybe organizations or brands, how can they work with you, either on a consulting basis or an advisory basis or project basis? I mean, or do you even have time for that these days? You're super busy.
Well, yeah, I'm a full-time clinician, but somehow I have juggled the time, and I think using technology in a smart way to be able to really become an advisor, a consultant, a keynote speaker, an advocate, officially or unofficially, for several companies out there. And I love to engage. I love to teach. I love to learn. But I love to be part of something that is going to help patients at the end. So if I can help drive, the development, the strategy, or the design of a healthcare related product, I'm on it. And if I see that the product that is going to have impact on my patients, we all do it because of the patients, right? I'm a full-time clinician, so my goal is really participate in that journey. And I don't think the journey can be done without the help of clinicians. So I'm not the only one, obviously, but I'm out there, and I want to be used as a resource. I have a website that you have shown in there, which is rafaelgrossmann.com. But I'm very active in Twitter, starting to be active in Thread, and very active in LinkedIn, really. And I'm trying to use that as a platform to connect and communicate better, to get knowledge and to give knowledge and advice. So I'm always open to conversations, and trying to, every couple months, I try to go to some impactful conference or event to speak somewhere, because I think that we have the responsibility. If we clinicians don't go out there and tell everyone, clinicians or non-clinicians, different types of industries, that this is what needs to happen, because we know. Because last night I was in the ED suffering from staff shortages or the EMR not working. So I know I feel it in my skin. So if we are not involved, then we are actually, it's our fault. We need to be responsible enough to engage as much as we can, and to help drive the solutions that we need for the problems that we know. So I think that that's really one of my goals for the last 10 years, 15 years, it has been. So I love to engage and try to help anyone who is willing to seek me.
Wonderful.
What a powerful message to end our conversation on.
Yeah, and thanks so much. And on that note of shortages of staff and burnout, I mean, what do you do to manage those challenges? I hope you're taking some time off in the summer, some R&R, much deserved. Well, here in New England is our time to thrive in the summer. What are you up to?
Yeah, I really think that it's about balance, and you need to do what you love, right? And make sure that what you are doing is something that you love. And if you're deviating from loving it, you got to find ways to start loving it again. And that's the key to not burning out. And I think, having a support network of friends and family, it's invaluable. And having people, that support you, and you support people, and, being close to nature, and, being in New England has been always a blessing, because you're very close to, you can be at the top of the world in regards to development and progress, but you can drive very, very quickly to the middle of nowhere, right? Especially in Maine, where I was, and not even have signal, right? So I think that going back to nature, it's really important. I think that doing things that relate to the basics of our world and forget about technology and other things. Really refuel the brain and the soul with a lot of good energy. So
ending on that high note,
Yes.
Good energy for all. Thanks so much for joining us, taking time out of your busy practice. Thanks, viewers, for watching. And please reach out, follow Rafi on social media. All the channels are here in the video.
Thank you.
And he's so fun and interesting to engage with. Thank you so much.
And the beautiful
Thank you.
human too. Thank you, Rafael.
Bye-bye.
My pleasure.